Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ok Xoomer. I'm Aaron Lichtig, Xometry guy and former Jeopardy champion, and as always, I'll be your host today. I'm really excited to be here today with Andrew Crowe. Now, Andrew is a manufacturing instructor as well as a strong advocate for diversity in manufacturing. And I first heard Andrew on Making Chips, which is a great show on machining run by Jim Carr. And Andrew, thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming over and having a conversation with us on Ok Xoomer.
Man, Aaron, I am happy to be here, and I'm excited to tell the world about my message and my mission. And thank you for, giving me your platform to speak about these things.
Well, we're glad to have you. So first, tell us about the kind of work that you are doing within the manufacturing industry.
I'd love to. So right now, my day-to-day includes teaching advanced manufacturing and machining technologies. So that is going to go from, everything from introducing you to metal and the types and the relationship with metal and different things. And then it's going to walk you through each different type of cutter that you would use to cut these metals, manual machining, all the way through advanced machining and CNC G coding to fifth axis. And we're getting into some additive manufacturing as well. So number one, my main job is to shape the young minds of the future machinists that are going into the field and just give them a really good overall complete tool set of, the fundamentals and the basics of machining, and then kind of build on those and strengthen those so that then when they go into the industry and they go into the field, we've got some really highly skilled machinists. And, it raises the American manufacturing or wherever they decide to go, it raises the bar there. And it improves the processes altogether and the quality of machinists that we put into the world. So that's definitely the number one passion of mine. From there, because I do believe in our industry and I love our industry so much, I do understand that we're kind of at a critical diversity and skills workforce gap, right? So a lot of the older machinists in the shops that have most of the knowledge and everything like that, they're leaving our field within the next 5 to 10 years. So I made it a mission of mine to actively get out and get the word out about manufacturing and kind of start making younger people aware of our industry and how cool it is, right? Because a lot of people, when you ask them about machinists, either they don't know what it is, or you ask them about manufacturing and nobody's really ever put some thought into how things are made or how they arrive on our shelves as complete, right? Personal goal, personal mission to go into middle schools, go into boys and girls clubs, going to elementary schools, and I put little presentations together, or I speak to the youth about this field and the different places that you can go and some of the things that are needed to be successful in this field. And I kind of try to plant seeds early and then water them throughout the process. So I'm doing that. And then I also am building a workforce training center called the Elevate Academy. So I'm doing a lot of work with Elevate, and what Elevate does is we are working specifically with ex-offenders, we're working with minorities, and we're working with women, and we are trying to get them trained up and trying to get them interested in our field so we can diversify this thing and keep it growing.
Awesome. Now, you talk about planting those seeds in younger people, getting them interested in the industry. How did you yourself first get interested in manufacturing?
So, great question. I wish somebody would have planted a seed. And maybe when I was young, I will say this. My dad, when I was young, gave me a book, and it was called The Way Things Work. And it wasn't necessarily about machining, but it just gave you different concepts about the world, right? So it had things about like wheels and pulleys and maybe some manufacturing concepts, but it didn't really get into machining, right? That may have planted the seed, and that may have made me, started thinking in a critical way when I started looking at things like, how did this get put together? whatever. But I really didn't think about manufacturing, and I didn't know, how things were made. I knew about the assembly line, in Ford. I learned about that in school, but I didn't really know the intricacies of manufacturing, right? I came from a background that, isn't the best. And I played sports in high school, and I went to college on a full ride football and track scholarship. And nobody in my family really went to college, so nobody could tell me, what to major in, how to figure out what I'm proficient in. I was just there playing football and just going to whatever classes they gave me, right? And when I finished college, I had 2 bachelor's degrees, one in political science, one in mass communications. And it was the turn of the economy the first time, when the stock market fell out and there were no jobs. And luckily, I humbled myself enough. I had a young daughter, and I was just starting a family. And my girlfriend at the time, her mother worked in quality control in a machine shop. And she was like, "Hey, we need a guy to run the bandsaw. If you'd like to do it, it's a job." And at the time, there were no jobs. So I got into the shop, started on the bandsaw, and I just needed to see this new world. All I had to do was be exposed to it. And when I was exposed to this new world, I didn't know what any of the machines did. I didn't know how to run them, but I just knew that they were making something out of a block of metal, and it blew my mind, right? So I started studying myself, like, okay, what are these machines called? And I started looking at these machines, and okay, CNC, what does that mean? And I looked at that. And then I started staying over and learning from some of the older machinists, and they would show me different concepts, and then that would beget another thought in my mind. And I would go run to, Google wasn't as prominent at the time, but I would go run and find whatever resources that I could and kind of study that. So it was just the exposure. It was, being in a shop and understanding that there was a concept or there was a whole nother world going on that I had no idea about. But then once I saw this world, I wanted to know everything about it. And I've been here ever since.
Awesome. Now, what excites you the most about the industry moving forward, the future of manufacturing?
So moving forward, just technology, the way that right now we're in industry 4.0, a lot of people like to call it, the fact that our field is going from a skilled field to more of like a smart field, right? And I think that that's going to be a really good tool in recruiting this next generation of machinists. So kids right now, my kids especially, they grew up with iPads, they grew up with phones, they grew up with technology in the palm of their hand, right? And now with the industry of things and I mean the Internet of Things and Industry 4.0, a lot of what they're going to be doing isn't the same as maybe what machinists were doing in the 50s, or machinists were doing even in the 80s, or machinists even in my era were doing 10, 15 years ago. They are going to come up in a time where they're making, their 3D designs, and they're looking at tool life on an iPad maybe, and they're programming a robot to load the machine and to, count different parts and to do different measurements and inspect the part. So I think that the future of machining is going to excite the new generations of machinists a lot more than we were ever excited because of the tech aspect that's going to it. I also really, really like where we're going with additive manufacturing. I think 3D printing is really big, and I think that the fact that we can combine additive manufacturing with traditional manufacturing is going to the amount of things that we're going to be able to make and the things that we're going to be able to make better it's going to blow up, right? So the quality of things, the new inventions that are going to come out, I'm excited for all of it. And then that also begs the question, where can this thing go, right? So I think when we started off, there was slow progress. People were using tape and people were using pulleys, and programs were one way. And, we used G code for everything. And then we got conversational programming. Then we had G code for 3D printing. And then we have all these different things that we're revisiting because of technology pushing the field forward at a rate that we never saw before. So, man, I can't even think of what's coming next, but I'm excited to be a part of it.
Things are changing quickly. It is a very, very exciting time to be a part of manufacturing. Now, you mentioned up front that there is a diversity gap in this field, in manufacturing as a whole. How should leaders in the manufacturing field be thinking about this? What kind of things should they be not only thinking about, but doing to help address this?
Well, great question. So number one, we have to look at it not just in a personal thing, like my shop needs to diversify. Our industry has to diversify, right? And it's going to benefit all of us. The reason being is because our industry has been, pretty much white male dominated for a long time, right? And in manufacturing, it's mostly about problem solving, or it's mostly about critical thinking in a different way and being creative, right? A lot of people think that manufacturing process is a competition, who can make the parts faster. And it's not really about competing, right? Because we can all buy better machines, we can buy better tooling, but it's how you creatively use that tooling and use those machining and use those processes that's going to make you open up your margins or be able to bid better on jobs or have better workers and better people capital inside of your operations, right? So the way that we have different creative processes is we bring in different minds, right? So if I am only a person that thinks one way because all of my experiences and all of my actions in life and everything culturally has been one way, I can only see problems one way. I can only solve them with that way of thinking, right? And our manufacturing industry has been going that process for a long time. But once we start introducing different angles, different cultures, different types of people into machining, now we have different ways of thinking and different angles at looking at problems, right? And now we can have 4 different ideas on how to attack this problem or make this process faster. And then we can come to one, peak and say, hey, out of the 4 that we now are considering, this would be the best one, or we can all together come to a great, understanding together, which will be the best part of the process, right? So number one, it diversifies our thinking and diversifies our problem solving within shops, which will make you stronger, right? Number 2, because we have only been, one way for a long time, unfortunately, the pool of people that we now have to fill these positions are starting to look different, right? So America is declining in population of white male, right? So the birth rate is kind of negative going forward. And the pool of workers that we will have in future generations are going to look more black and brown, and they're going to be more female, right? So if we know that this is what's coming up, we should be setting up those processes right now to make sure that once we hire and we do have only those pools to recruit from, or a majority of those pools to recruit from, we can retain these people as well. And the company culture is comfortable for all people, and they feel okay to give new ideas, or to make changes to programs, or to speak up in meetings, or to feel like they're a part of this team and this process as well, right? I think that one of the problems that we run into right now is we don't really have too much of an issue recruiting. We can find pretty much anybody that will work any job. If we've got a job and we say, hey, we're hiring, we can find somebody that wants to come work in this job, and they will look like whatever. But our culture has been one way for so long that once they come into this job, are they going to want to stay here, right? Are they going to want to give us their best work because they actually like being here and they feel like they're a part of this team? They feel like they're a part of the process, and what they say and what they do actually matters, and the work that they make matters, right? So that's what I think that companies' number one issue right now is retention and making sure that the culture is comfortable for everybody, and that you're set up to receive different types of candidates, right? Also, for outreach, I think that companies right now have to do a better job of proactively going to places where they don't normally recruit at, right? So if you know that you're drawing most of your people that work for you from a specific location or a specific place, you have to get out and go where the people are, right? And that works for every different qualifier, whether it's a race qualifier or age qualifier or a sex qualifier, right? Titan of CNC, for what he is, he does really good at this specific thing, right? He knows the kids are on YouTube. He knows the kids maybe on TikTok or Twitter. So he went there and he showed our field, and he's showing it in a high-tech way on the internet where the kids are, right? He didn't just go put an ad in the paper and say, hey, be a machinist. And he didn't go, the traditional route that we go and find the traditional people. He said, okay, this is the type of people we need in this industry. Let me go where they are and put my message in front of them where they will want to see it, and they'll actually receive it.
Yeah. I like his content a lot. He's got some really good videos out there. Now, you mentioned that training and planting those seeds, getting people involved in manufacturing is a big part of this. And you're working on a training center called Elevate Academy. What are some of the goals of that project?
Okay, thank you for asking. So Elevate Academy is something that is going to solve a whole lot of issues, not only just in the manufacturing industry, but in the world, right? So right now, our industry is unique because it is a multiplier, number one, which means that for every manufacturing job that you have, it creates 7 to 12 jobs in other supporting industries to support that one manufacturing position. So right now, if you look at our economy, in the state of our economy, there's a lot of people that are out of work. And there are a lot of industries that have shut down completely or had to go on furlough because of the state of the economy, coronavirus, whatever it may be, right? Prior to that, we also had a pretty big homelessness rate or joblessness rate, which was affecting our economy as well, right? So for every job that we can create in this field, it will fill up 7 to 12 other jobs. So it's going to help us economically with making sure that people have jobs, whether just in this field or across, across industries, period, just economically, right? Number two, manufacturing, because most of the entry-level jobs start at a rate of $15 to $20 an hour. They are high-paying jobs, quote unquote, so they will reduce recidivism. And recidivism means anybody that has been an offender before, a criminal offender, when they come back out, there's a higher chance that they will be a reoffender and go back to prison if they don't have a job that pays $15 to $20 an hour. Now, with a felony on your record, it's very hard to get those types of jobs in any other field. But here in manufacturing, these skills can be taught in about 18 months. And people that do have slightly messed up backgrounds, or they may have made some mistakes in the past, this job is still accessible to you, right? Because there's no law that says that you cannot be an ex-offender and do this practice. So as long as you can learn it, as long as you can get the skills, you can come in and you can make a decent amount of money. So that's going to drop the crime rate, right? That's going to drop people reoffending. So Elevate's going to help there as well. When we talk about the diversity gap, there's a lot of companies that want to hire a lot more women. They want to hire a lot more black and brown people. They have the culture set up, but they just can't find them. And there is no pool. They can't recruit them. They can't find people that are skilled up and that are interested in the field and they're ready to be hired. So this is going to be like a branch for big companies like that, right? So a big company can say, hey, we really have a diversity problem and we need to find skilled workers that are female, that are black or brown, that are Asian, that are whatever minority that it may be, and we'd like to diversify our ranks. We see value in that. So we'll call Elevate Academy and we'll tell them what we need our workers. We need 15 guys that are trained on Mastercam, that are trained on CNC G coding, that can run fifth axis machines. And in 18 months, we'll give that to you. If they need any retraining, they can come back and we'll retrain them on whatever you need them to be, and then they'll come back into the industry. So right now, this is an academy that's going to work on the workforce training, that's going to get people skilled up. It's going to give them the math that they need. It's going to give them the 3D designing skills that they need. And they're going to be ready to step right into a job and run a machine, or step right into a programming room in 12 to 18 months. So we're filling these positions, we're opening up more positions, and we're helping companies achieve their diversity and inclusion goals that they have by doing all the recruiting and doing all of the getting people excited ourselves. So the companies, all they have to do is come poach them right from us, and it'll solve their problems. It's going to drop the crime rate, and it's going to make more taxpayers in our world. And in a city like St. Louis, in a city like Chicago, in a city like Baltimore, where that crime rate is really high, and we see a lot of social unrest right now, this is, my way of solving that. This is a social justice thing. This is a criminal justice thing. This is an economic thing as well, right? And I'm kind of long-winded, but the reason I'm so passionate about that is because personally, I went through that myself, right? So I was a felon. I am a felon. I'm an ex-offender myself. I sold drugs and I did a lot of gangster stuff, you know what I'm saying? And it was because I grew up in one of these areas where I felt like I had no other way, and that's all I saw every day. So I thought that I had to swim with the sharks if I wanted to eat, right? And then by sheer luck or grace of God, I was allowed to get into the shop, and I found out about this industry, and it did several things for me. Number one, it gave me somewhere to be 8 hours a day. So for those 8 hours, and usually when you're starting off, you're probably on second shift or third shift. So for those 8 hours, I was somewhere safe. I was somewhere using my brain, and I was just somewhere else that I could not be doing criminal activity, right? So it took me away from that. On top of that, the type of work that was going on, I'm looking at tolerances. I'm teaching myself different trigonometry things, different geometry things. So my brain was occupied with something else. I couldn't think about any of the criminal activity that I would have been thinking about at first, right? So that's gonna occupy your body. It's gonna occupy your brain. And then good shops, they usually have a lot of overtime available for you. So I'm making good money. And now I'm thinking, okay, normally if, my boy down the street would say, hey, let's go rob this place, or let's go sell some dope, or let's go do whatever, I would say, yeah, I would be about that because I want to make money. I need to survive. But now I think about it, I'm like, oh man, I'm getting paid $20 an hour. I don't need to go do that. You know what I'm saying? One day at work, I'm going to make the same amount of money. So now I'm making different decisions consciously, because it's like, okay, I don't want to lose this good thing that I have going on for me. And now that little change that I would risk my life just to survive a little bit, I can make the same thing in 2 or 3 hours or one weekend working at my job. So I'm going to have to decline that, right? On top of that, being in the shop put me in an environment with different type of people, right? So the people that I was in the shop with, at night, hey, we're going to go do some night fishing. Would you like to? And I just started saying yes to things that normally I would say no to. So now I'm starting to learn about new activity, or I'm starting to do new things, and I'm occupying my time outside of here with things that I wouldn't normally do, right? Or I can afford to maybe get into some new hobbies that I would have never been able to do if I was still stuck on the block and I still had that same block mentality. So with Elevate Academy, I'm trying to do the same thing. And we call it Elevate because I believe that manufacturing and this industry is something that will really elevate people from wherever they are in life to wherever they want to go, wherever they want to take this thing, whether they're working in a shop for somebody or if they're working on their own, right? So I'm going to segue a little bit and jump back. But when you ask about how I'm excited about the future, right? Mm-hmm. I talked about technology, and I'm going to talk about Xometry as well, because Xometry really, really, really excites me, because this is a way to become an entrepreneur in this field, right? So if I know how to G-code, if I know how to do any of these things, I can go on Xometry and I can have a side hustle, because the way that technology is moving right now, I can get a mini mill, I can get a table mill in my house, in my garage. I can afford to get a 3D printer in my house, in my garage, right? And now I can go on Xometry and I can bid on jobs and I can make extra money on the side in my own home, running my own machines that is affordable to me now. 20 years ago, you couldn't get a machine that was small enough to fit in your garage or fit in like a home office and actually make parts that were decent enough. But now the further that we go, we're building machines that are highly capable, and they have smaller envelopes and they can fit inside of your home. They can fit inside of a small garage. So the bar of entry as far as the skills has always been attainable, but now the bar of entry as far as the actual machining is becoming more accessible and more attainable as well. So I think that with things like Elevate Academy or Titan, even doing the online school, it's giving that skill set and it's giving that mindset to more people. And with things like Xometry, they can actually find work right now and they can elevate their lives that way as well, right? So everything's exciting, man. It's all coming together.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you for joining us on OK Xoomer today, and thanks for sharing your story, and thanks for sharing all of your work. We are super excited about everything that you're doing and how that's going to have a very positive impact on the future of manufacturing.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks again for having me. And if you ever need me to come back again and talk about more, I would love to. I can't wait. And keep up the good work, guys, man. We love Xometry in the industry, and it's a major game changer, man. Thanks a lot.
You too. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back in another couple days with another episode of OK Xoomer.